Good morning to each and every one of you from my wonderful country, Barbados. I want to extend a special welcome, in particular to the CEO and all of our friends at Coursera who have been invaluable partners with us. And to all of you global partners who, like me, so passionately believe in the transformative power of education, let me thank you for inviting me to share a perspective, not only from Barbados in the Caribbean, but I suspect from many other small island developing states. I'm aware that this conference brings together over 5,000 of the world's thought leaders, innovators, and disruptors from within government, higher education, industry, and the nonprofit sector. So in a very real sense, I believe you have the power to get it right for Generation Z and effect transformative change in education. And why Generation Z? Because they are the largest demographic group globally that spends an average of 3 hours on social media daily. These digital natives are driving the digital trends, so understanding their influence on the digital and social universe is essential to transformation. This conference is promised to be a space for forward-thinking conversations and valuable partnerships, one that produces high-impact strategies and visionary initiatives. So you will forgive me if I don't waste the opportunity to challenge you, to help us find a solution to challenge that which has been weighing heavily on our minds in Barbados. There are nearly 5 billion people globally who have access to the internet, and more than 5 billion estimated to have some sort of mobile device, with over 4.5 billion being active users on social media platforms. The flip side, however, is that an estimated 37% of the world's population, or just under 3 billion people, have still never used the internet. The disparity and inequality in access can be best highlighted by the fact that 24% of Middle Africa users have access to the internet, as opposed to 98% in Northern Europe. The current reality of education management in Barbados, like in so many countries across the world, is that since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic and the school lockdowns, we have experienced significant difficulties in reaching students who were stuck on the wrong side of the digital divide. The question I've been asking is, whose interest does it serve to chart strategies and initiatives if those who could benefit most are unable to access them either because of poor or no connectivity, or indeed no devices? Surely, my friends, this is an obvious and patent injustice. Recently in Geneva at the WTO's inaugural presidential lecture, when I said that failure of the world order to respond to global injustices cannot continue, I meant it. If the data is accurate that the rise of digital empires is concentrated on 9 leading digital platforms, 6 in the United States of America and 3 in China, then not only is that a concentration of economic power in a few hands, but it is also an opportunity for social empowerment that should compel those few hands to help carry the burden of social injustice and to redress it. There is a monumental challenge driving an evolution of our relationship with digital. It is indicative of a global wealth inequality and the systemic issues that will be exacerbated if left unchecked. Thus, instead of driving even more profits for a narrow few, should we not embrace the vision of a decentralized internet, which amongst other things would better enable populations around the world to access wonderful e-learning opportunities to lift themselves out of poverty? As a community promoting and supporting lifelong learning, you must be the catalyst for the change we need to see in this world. In January of this year, when the United Nations announced its theme for International Day of Education as Changing Course, Transforming Education, I could not help but connect it to the words of one of my personal heroes, Nelson Mandela. And I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world," unquote. With so much drama unfolding right before our eyes, President Mandela's words have never felt more true. We live in a world more willing, it seems, to promote war, to sow division, and to embrace exclusion, rather than bringing global peace and sustainable development, as we should. As educators, therefore, our agenda must underscore the importance of people, partnerships, and passion for professionalism, while providing the opportunity to offer something new. COVID highlighted the strengths and weaknesses of our approaches to training and demonstrated that we do not need to be wedded to the traditional rigid approach. We have seen that we can exemplify the highest training standards in a relaxed and non-judgmental approach. We must and can validate the unique and multiple intelligences of every learner, and so legitimize and maximize our varying learning styles. Education must recalibrate its focus and approach. And that is why many years ago we said in our own Ministry of Education here that education must be to be able to accommodate each person by each one being able to be the center of our focus. This, my friends, must underpin every decision you make as thought leaders, innovators, and disruptors, whether it is from within government, higher education, industry, or the nonprofit sectors, as I said before. If we are sincere in shaping a progressive and dynamic future of learning and work for our children, and indeed ourselves, then we must change the trajectory of exclusivity and embrace inclusion. We must be persistent in removing barriers to inclusion. According to a World Economic Forum report, e-learning takes 40 to 60% less time to learn than in a conventional classroom setting, because students can learn at their own speed, go back and read, skip, or accelerate through concepts. I suspect many of you already know this. It is your lived experience. Thus, my challenge to you today is to go even further. Shape more e-learning modalities that will attract, engage, and empower those with literacy gaps globally. I challenge you to find ways to accelerate on-scale participation while maintaining equitable e-learning strategies and resolving the digital divide. I challenge you to build innovative partnerships and products with tech companies to enable more global access to connectivity and devices. And I challenge you to always root yourselves in the core purpose of education, to empower lives. Move away from the transactional partnerships to ones that are intentionally transformational. These challenges, my friends, are in keeping with ones that have informed our own government's decision to establish the National Transformation Initiative as part of our homegrown Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program. This, of course, has been supported by the International Monetary Fund in the program that we entered with them 4 years ago. Strategy 4 of that program includes a comprehensive retraining of Barbadians through the retooling, empowering, retraining, and enfranchising of workers to make our workforce globally fit for purpose. To accelerate that goal at scale, our flagship partnership with Coursera was launched exactly 1 year ago on May 1st. To date, we have about 24,000 people. That is about 12% of our population, and we're still adding. This is encouraging for an island that does not have a tradition of e-learning. This allows us to reach our population with endless possibilities online. My friends, online is here to stay. As you celebrate your decade of success as the largest digital education platform, I salute you, Coursera, for your boldness in breaking the stereotypical framework of what education looks like and making it accessible to others. The dramatic acceleration of technological advances globally is changing the nature of jobs and the skills that are necessary for our people. So the need is greater for governments to establish those enabling environments to help map the educational journey of a learner who is grappling with the paradigm shift in this new approach. This dares our educational architects to have a greater understanding of learner skill proficiencies, skill trends, and career pathways so that our educational leaders will be well positioned to bridge key skill gaps within their curricula. It demands of us the ability to prepare students for emerging jobs that we do not yet have, and to ensure that our populations are readily retrainable for their entire future. I sound as though I was making the same speeches that I did as Minister of Education almost more than 20 years ago. That is why what we do is so urgent, because time is no longer on our side. It demands that we remain connected to what skills are trending and the insights that shape future preferences. And we must do this in order to build strategies that update curricula that are relevant to drive positive job outcomes for the future of work. Ultimately, my friends, our test must be to not only explore how skill development can support our enrollment initiatives, but align them to facilitate a higher return on our investment, as in the case of my government's partnership with Coursera. None of this can help in a silo without the concurrent development of our learners. The biggest hurdle is often, if not always, the mindset shift. The greatest skill now is not just strength or intelligence, but as I said, adaptability, being able to be readily retrainable at any stage. Every learner must be in a constant state of self-improvement and situational awareness. You pursue lifelong learning because you will always find more to learn, more ways to improve your skills, and new skills to hone. So the Coursera mantra of lifelong learning resonates with us and the approach of the NTI of meeting people where they are to inspire them to join this journey, because, my friends, this matters for our people and our country. It is difficult to address you on the future of learning and work within the context of challenging you to provide transformational offerings and not discuss the metaverse. The metaverse is essentially a network of 3D interfaces, enabling individual connection and access to a parallel digital universe through an avatar. And this means it has the potential to enhance the work, our play, and our education, all as individuals and in some instances even collectively. Because participants are owners of the content that they create, there exists the possibility of exciting wealth generation possibilities as well. Some of you, I'm sure, would know that Barbados is the first country with an embassy in the metaverse. I will confess that the greatest appeal to me is the ability to empower our citizens to recognize and embrace the opportunity to go beyond just being consumers of digital products and services, and to be bold and confident enough to also be creators and owners of their own innovation and content. Importantly, within this context, governments and institutions will also need to consider the skill set necessary for Caribbean citizens to actively participate in the digital space. While we cannot predict how the metaverse will evolve and what its attributes will be 5 years from today, I think you'll agree with me that many opportunities exist for a variety of content creators in this sector. And critically, an education system that supports the development of critical thinking and innovation built on traditional competencies will be essential for the development and transformation of the sector. My friends, the COVID-19 pandemic has struck hardest the least advantaged and highlights the harsh reality of educational disparity. When we look to rebuild, we must ensure that the global challenge of literacy is effectively addressed. It is important that literacy is incorporated into global and national plans for learners of all ages. We need to ensure learning continuity, increased access, and strengthen national lifelong learning programs and capacities. E-learning will help to provide inclusive education even in times of crisis. And these structures need to be implemented in our institutions to ensure that irrespective of their location, social status, race, and all of the other social inequities, that no one, and I mean no one, is deprived of education. As I said, each one matters. Online training technologies endorse and promote learning, teaching practices, but there's an urgent need to weigh the technology's pros and cons and unlock its potential. And this is the recurring challenge to you to persist until those inequities disappear. The American poet Langston Hughes said it beautifully when he asked, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet, or does it explode?" My government believes in a Barbadian dream, and that our Barbadian citizens are the dream weavers. Across all endeavors exploding with rich talent and harnessing the discipline, tools, and business acumen to succeed both within the boundaries of our shores and to the world's farthest corners, Barbadians are what the National Transformative Initiative calls Star Bajans. I cannot conclude these remarks without an invitation to each of you, my friends, to come and visit us. Visit us in Barbados. We are delighted that in the days following this conference, some colleagues from Coursera will be joining us to announce phase 2 of our partnership offerings on our 1-year anniversary. We have also introduced, my friends, a Barbados Welcome Stamp, where you're all welcome to get a 12-month visa that allows you to relocate and work. Yes, from paradise. But we say simply to you, don't think about it, just come. Congratulations, Coursera, and as I said to you earlier, see you soon in Barbados. Thank you.